Meanwhile, the median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building.
Let me ask you something real quick. How does it take 627 days just to get approval to build a house in a state that's supposedly in a housing crisis? That's not construction time. That's not weather delays. That's just permission. For comparison, the Empire State Building, one of the most iconic structures in human history, was built in 410 days. And that was in the 1930s, without modern machinery, software, or Starbucks on every corner. If that doesn't immediately set off alarm bells, I don't know what will. And this is exactly why Bill Maher has finally had enough. And honestly, he's saying out loud what millions of Californians have been screaming into the void for years. Before we dive in, do me a favor. If you enjoy commentary that actually says the quiet part out loud, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments if you think California is being regulated into oblivion or if you think this is all totally fine. Alright, let's get into it. Maher isn't some right-wing firebrand. He's not Fox News in human form. He's been a reliable liberal voice for decades, which is why this moment hits harder. When someone like Maher turns around and says, "Yeah, this has gone way too far, you should probably stop, listen, and maybe reconsider a few things." His opening shot was almost laughably simple: a garage door. The man wanted to change his garage door. That's it. Not build a skyscraper, not drill for oil, just a garage door. And what did he get? 3 inspections. 3 for a garage door. No safety miracle, no environmental salvation, just paperwork, delays, and fees.
Many regulations that aren't necessary. You really don't believe that the state we live in, California, is lacking regulation. There's over 300,000 regulations.
Well, maybe they're needed.
They're not. When I tried to put in a garage door, I had to have 3 inspections. There should have been none. I should be allowed to change my garage door.
Are you kidding? Really? It was about a garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that is...
If you live in California, you already know this story isn't rare. It's normal. And here's the part people outside the state don't fully grasp: California isn't just well regulated, it's buried. There are over 300,000 regulations on the books. That's not governance. That's paralysis. Housing projects stall for years. Infrastructure gets announced, funded, re-announced, refunded, and then quietly dies. High-speed rail is still a punchline. When fires break out, nobody's evacuating on a bullet train that doesn't exist.
California is the place that spends money and gets nothing, which is why you may have noticed when the fires broke out, no one escaped by high-speed rail. We have the highest marginal tax rate in America, higher than almost all other states, and soon Greenland.
California has mastered one thing: spending enormous amounts of money and producing absolutely nothing. And Maher says it out loud. This is a state that taxes like a Scandinavian country but delivers services like a broken DMV. We've got the highest marginal tax rate in America, higher than almost every other state, and soon, apparently, higher than Greenland. And what do residents get in return? Crumbling roads, rolling blackouts, and a housing market so insane that a shed with plumbing is considered a starter home. Maher's bigger point cuts even deeper. This isn't just bad policy. This is what happens when a state becomes a one-party system. No competition, no pressure, no urgency. And before someone freaks out, this isn't about Democrats versus Republicans. This is about accountability versus complacency. Look at swing states like Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia. Politicians there know that if they screw up, they're gone. Every vote matters. Every bad decision has consequences. But in California, political careers are basically guaranteed. When leaders know they can't lose, they stop trying to win people over. They start governing for activists, donors, and bureaucrats instead of voters. Competition breeds action. Monopolies breed laziness. And California politics has become the ultimate monopoly. That's why housing costs explode and nothing changes. That's why infrastructure collapses while committees debate for a decade. That's why regulate.
No, you know this about California.
No, I don't.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't.
You've never heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated? That we are a one-party state where there's sort of no checks on that sort of extreme leftism. And what do you think?
I don't for a minute consider California a state that is extreme leftist. Not at all, not any way.
Well, that shows where your politics are. That's not where mine are. I'm sorry to tell you.
When Maher gets pushback, when he's told with a straight face that California isn't overtaxed, that it isn't overregulated, and that it isn't ideologically extreme, that's when the disconnect becomes painfully obvious. Enter Jane Fonda. Now look, Jane Fonda has lived an extraordinary life. But she also lives in a world where regulations are theoretical. Rising energy costs? Whatever. Housing prices? Not her problem. Permits, fees, and taxes? Those are background noise when you're worth tens of millions of dollars. For people like her, regulation is an abstract moral good. For everyone else, it's rent, it's gas, it's electricity, it's whether you can start a business or keep your job.
They don't really like them that much. They just think the far left has gone so nutty on so many issues.
That's what they're being told.
That's what
by people like you.
Because it's true.
Maher nails this point when he talks about why people voted for Trump. Not because Trump was perfect. Not because voters loved his tweets, but because he acknowledged their frustration. While elites lectured from gated communities, regular Americans were drowning in costs created by people who never feel the consequences. That resentment didn't come from nowhere. It was cultivated slowly, bureaucratically, one permit at a time. And then Maher pivots to water, and this is where things get almost absurd. California has been in a near-constant drought for 2 decades. Everyone knows this. We're told to take shorter showers, let our lawns die, and reuse towels like we're camping. Meanwhile, almond farming has doubled. Here's the math that should make your brain short-circuit. Oranges, tomatoes, and strawberries use about 11 gallons of water per pound. Almonds use 1,900 gallons per pound. One crop uses more water than all the people and businesses in Los Angeles and San Francisco combined.
We have spent the last 2 decades in perpetual drought here, yet almond farmers in California have doubled in that time, despite the fact that almond production alone uses more water than all the humans and businesses in San Francisco and Los Angeles combined, even on days when your teenage son spends 2 hours in the shower. How much water it takes to grow different crops, oranges, tomatoes, strawberries, all take about 11 gallons to make 1 pound. Almonds, 1,900 gallons. That wasn't a problem back when it rained, but now there simply isn't enough water to go around, and we have to make a painful choice, getting it to the people or getting it in the nuts.
California agriculture uses about 80% of the state's water while contributing less than 2% of the economy. This isn't small family farms scraping by. This is big agribusiness, corporate farming, and massive operations that get cheap water because policies were written as if it's still 1890. Maher's point is brutally simple: water is scarce. If something is scarce, it should be priced accordingly. Instead, taxpayers subsidize massive water consumption while cities ration showers and rural communities watch their wells dry up. That's not environmentalism. That's incompetence. And who benefits? The same people who always do: corporations with lobbyists, bureaucracies that never shrink, and regulators who justify their existence by creating new problems to solve.
California agriculture accounts for 80% of our water use, even though California agriculture is less than 2% of our economy. We actually have enough water. We just give way too much of it to farmers who get their water subsidized by the government because we still act like it's 1890 and farmers are small and independent when they're really mostly part of big ag. And corporations get what they want in America.
Which brings us to one of the most savage lines in the entire discussion. The idea that California's bureaucracy exists to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. Permit officers, inspectors, zoning boards, review panels, special commissioners, consultants, all with one unspoken mission: slow everything down. Delay, add fees, create friction. How may I hinder you might as well be the official greeting.
It's the vast network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, "Permit office, how may I hinder you?"
And then people act shocked when residents start leaving. This isn't theoretical anymore. Businesses are leaving. Energy companies are relocating. Tech workers are cashing out and moving to Texas, Florida, Tennessee, anywhere that doesn't treat productivity like a crime. And it's not just corporations. It's families, retirees, and young professionals who realize they're working just to fund a system that gives them less every year. Maher calls it what it is: economic self-sabotage. When a state punishes success and efficiency, people don't protest, they pack up. And then we zoom out to cities, to leadership, and to the consequences of all this ideology-first governance. The approval ratings tell the story. Rahm Emanuel jumps in with a reality check that hits like a brick. Mayors.